Good evening. I would like to call the June 18th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city website and by teleconference via Zoom. I would like to remind the Planning Commission to have their microphones turned on in position so the audience can hear. Director Monique, may we please have roll call?
Commissioner Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Ochoa,
Here.
Commissioner Hill is absent with notice. Vice Chair Papp,
Here.
Chair Beamsterfer,
Here. And we stand for flag salute and prayer. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here today. And Lord, I pray that you guide our decision making tonight. And I pray for our city of Hemet. I pray for the state of California, and I pray for our country, Lord, and the world. Just please guide us through this and let us gain some wisdom. In your name we pray, amen. All right, agenda item number 4 is for the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda?
Chair, I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
No e-comments as well. Okay, so we move on to agenda item 5A is the approval of minutes of the meeting of June 4th, 2024. Does the commission have any comments or corrections? If not, may I ask for a motion?
I have a motion to approve the minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of June 4th, 2024.
I'll second.
This one's not working. Oh, there we go.
And that passes. Item 6A is extension of time, number 24-003, Director Monique.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission and the community. I'm Monique Alanis Flater. The request before you is an extension of time, 2024-003 for H&A Plastics Conditional Use Permit. The proposal is in alignment with the council's strategic goals of quality of life to ensure that Hemet is safe, clean, attractive, and comfortable for all who live, work, and visit. Also, goal 2, economic opportunity, to ensure that Hemet is a hub with access to quality jobs, shopping, and varied sustained tax base. Developing business practices that welcome new development by streamlining processes. The applicant is FDC Commercial Construction. Property owner is Badrani Brothers Asset and Trust, and the property location is 340 East Menlo Avenue. The request before you dates back to an extension of time that was approved on January 4th, 2022 for H&H Plastics. H&H Plastics is a 15,852 square foot plastic recycling and processing facility where plastic bottles are cleaned and processed into one small pellet for shipping. The approved hours of operation are Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The entitlement was set to expire on January 4th, 2024. The property is located on Menlo Avenue, just for context, east of State and Menlo, across from Valley Restart, just to the east of Valley Restart on the north side of Menlo Avenue. Just a little bit of information, just to present to the Planning Commission of what was approved. The proposal included substantial improvements, tenant improvements, parking lot improvements, roadway dedication, right-of-way improvements, landscaping, exterior improvements, and interior improvements to allow for the proposed use. The floor plan presented here is what has been approved through the building department, and is a more recent version of the floor plan you might have received in your staff report packet. This is also an upper floor plan. It's a two-level building. So the conditional use permit expires within 24 months of the conditional use permit approval, unless construction permits are obtained or the applicant files an extension of time prior to the expiration period. In this case, the applicant was notified that a hold was placed on an engineering permit, the water quality management plan, due to entitlement expiration after advisement with engineering and planning. Unfortunately, this was post expiration, and unfortunately, the planning division wasn't provided notice interdepartmentally that the submittal had been ongoing. At that time, we had notified the applicant of the expiration period. At that time, the applicant decided to pursue the application for extension that was filed on February 21st, 2024, due to a variety of circumstances, which we'll go into this evening. So generally speaking, the conditional use permit is null and void 2 years after the date of approval. In most of the conditions of approval for that we've approved in the city since dating back to 2011, we've incorporated a condition of approval that states that the conditional use permit is null and void 2 years from the date of approval, unless use and reliance is established prior to the expiration date. And so just identifying and for clarification, what that means is that that the conditions, that there are unique circumstances that allow the applicant to file and finalize their permit approvals if there's a substantial level of reliance on the approval. And in this case, there have been substantial approvals for the development, including building plans have been approved, the street improvement plans, the precise grading plan, the landscape and irrigation plan, and right-of-way dedication plan, as well as the interior tenant improvements have all been in approval status, and some of the engineering permits, such as the water quality management plan, because of the extensive improvements and the impervious surfaces on the property, they do have to go through this process of ensuring that it complies with the criteria. The engineering, Public Works Engineering Division has been, there has been a staff change. We do have the Public Works Engineering, the director, city engineer, but we've also been graced with in another position where we have now the Deputy Public Works Assistant City Engineer that's looking at more closely at our permit processing. So in this case, the engineering division is is near ready to approve grading for the development. However, they are, when finalized, they'll need to finalize the water quality management plan with the condition that's stated in the conditions of approval for this extension. So the use and reliance is really only used on a case-by-case basis and only when there's a substantial level of reliance on the approval. And in many of the cases, and the reason why also I want to explain, I would like to explain why, in many cases, the development is delayed. Most of the time, in conditions of approval for a development, you'll find over 100 conditions of approval for the applicant to comply with. These, vary from having to comply with the building department, public works, engineering, fire department, and planning. And those conditions can be quite complex for them to comply with and to be able to coordinate that through with all of the departments in the city within a timely manner. So, unfortunately, the city has received in the last 5 years over 25 extensions requests. And the reason for those extensions are they vary, and it depends on market conditions. It could it also include, what's happening in the market, interest rates, delay in permit issuance, obtaining the bonding, and also being able to finance the development for the project. With that, staff finds that the applicant acted in good faith to obtain substantial approvals for permit issuance before the expiration of the entitlement. To date, as mentioned, the approval has included the improvement plans, the building tenant plans, the street improvements, grading plans, landscaping, and right-of-way dedication. Therefore, staff finds that use and reliance on the approval has been achieved and is supportive, respectfully recommends that the Planning Commission approve the extension request this evening. This concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Bonney, for that presentation. Does the commission have any questions for the staff?
I do.
Could you please use the microphone?
Specifically, what has been the biggest obstacle for that building to progress through the application process?
The applicant is here this evening. I believe that they can respond to what the challenges they've experienced. As noted in the staff report, they have experienced, over the years, due to the vacancy of the structure. There have been issues such as loitering, graffiti, and vandalism on the property. And this would be an improvement to that property.
Understood, but are those the things that are stopping it from going forward? Has that been what's been stopping it from going forward, or is there something within the process that's clogging it?
That's a good question. I would like the applicant, to provide their insight onto what they believe the obstacles, could be. There could be a variety of issues outlined in the report. However, I do want to mention that, in the past 4 years, we've had a decline in the availability of full-time staff positions, including even the former Public Works Director and the former building official there was vacancies. And then until we brought on board the new Public Works Engineering city engineer. And so we've been transitioning to full-time staff, unfortunately, because we were in a vacancy, in the vacancies of the position, we were compelled to contract out on various reviews, which, that also contributes to delays in processing. So I did identify that as one of the reasons, from staff's perspective on the permit approval process, and the potential of one of the contributing factors of the delays.
But if we've experienced that and it's a problem, then what is preventing the city from reevaluating and moving and giving one more year instead of these extensions? I mean, I'm curious on why, if we're experiencing this problem, why certain ones haven't already just said, well, okay, we're down for the count right now. Let's give you one more year, which is why I'm asking specifically what the problems are.
Yeah, and that's a great comment, and that's at the pleasure of the planning commission to consider the time for the extension, and maybe to have that discussion also with the applicant if perhaps a reduced extension time is, more feasible, and if it makes sense from the applicant's perspective, then perhaps that's something that the commission could consider.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, more for clarification than anything. Excuse me. Reading through the packet, sorry, I have my laptop, so if anybody's interested, I have the staff report on my phone. I'm not watching a sporting event or anything. With respect to the conditions of approval, and in particular, the fire department, I noticed that some of the dates and things like that, minor corrections have been made to the fire department conditions in particular, but they do state as modified by the planning commission on June 18th, 2024. So I wanted to ask my colleagues on the dais if they have read that and if they agree with these changes to the conditions.
I did read them. And I did specifically have more questions to this. Especially with number 58, the occupancy permit, and its subsections D, E, and F. I don't see F anywhere in the chapter 82 for underground utility lines and developer. So I see an A, I see a B, I see a C, D, and D, E, but not an F. So that's another thing that I'm wondering, are we missing? Because I've got it pulled up, the version of 2024.
Commissioner Clark, can you refer to the staff report page number or the page?
Yes, I can. I can give you, it's page 65 of 217. So it's the prior to the occupancy permit, number 58. And so it has a discussion, and I did question why there might be a specific instance to be exempt. And in 59, it says subsections D, E, and F of 82-172. And when you look that up, there is no F.
Can you reference the condition number?
Well, it's 58 and 59.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, which is another thing that I was wondering, it's the power poles and such. And then 59 says something about subsections D, E, and F provide process and procedure for the owner to pay in lieu fee in certain specific instances be exempt from this section of the code or request a waiver to be granted by the city council, but
Yes.
I don't see the F.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. We can correct that in the conditions. I did want to also, and I will come back to and respond to that comment. The conditions of approval, the revised conditions of approval, just for the commission's reference, can be found starting on page number 8 of the staff report. And that is the revised conditions of approval. what they are is they are modifications to the original ones that are being referenced. Okay, and to respond to that question, so we can certainly make sure that that is corrected and that it has the appropriate code sections. That is an opportunity for the applicant. They are required to underground the utilities. In the event that the only time that they can, the city attorney has to take it to city council if they would like to waive that opportunity. If they waive it, they have to make findings and justification for that, and that is processed through our city engineer and reviewed by the city council.
Is that been part of this process?
They have not, and I would like to refer to the applicant. I don't believe they've had council approval of that or have requested that.
Fire department discussion about that?
Yes, they're basically clerical changes for key dates and things like that. I just wanted to make sure that since the conditions stated that they were changed by the planning commission, that the planning commission had read them and agreed with them. To your point, I do believe that it's possible that that particular section you just cited, subsection F, may have been modified since the original conditions were approved in 2001, and maybe that's why that particular subsection doesn't exist anymore. So I would
Yeah.
ask staff to check into that. But those conditions those conditions that you read from are attached from the 2001 staff report.
Right,
So-
right. And I'm looking at the 2024 version. So I do understand. I just want to know where we've come and gone, and this is, no F. So I understand what it.
Thank you for
Thank you.
catching that. That's a heck of a catch. I had another question about the conditions and I have to scroll back to it, sorry. Oh, is regarding, I believe it's condition of approval number 45 for the roadway, that the pavement must be done in 2 courses, each course being no more than 3 inches. Is this related to a specification in the public works or engineering standards, or is this what regulation requires this layering?
Yeah, so that was a condition that was revised by our Deputy Public Works Assistant City Engineer, based on the criteria for pavement.
Okay. The only reason I ask is I recently worked on a similar project, and the jurisdiction that I'm employed by, we require 2-inch courses, so I was just curious. And I did have a question for the applicant, but I'll wait for them to come.
Mhm.
I just have more of a question than anything. From the letter of the applicant and him reaching out before expiration date of January 4th, 2024. The applicant, in a way, from the letter kind of states it's kind of on the city, and from what we're reading, it's on the city side. It's taken a while. It's trying to get the engineering. And so I just want more clarification. We always hear about with new businesses and different things being pulled. Is it them or is it us? And in this situation, is it more us that caused this to go longer than planned, or what took the time? Because if it is us, then are we extending him 2 years as of this date, as of June, or are we doing 2 years from January when he originally tried to extend it before then?
Yeah, good questions. So to answer the first question, we did a little research, or a lot of research, to see what the progress has made since the 2022 approval. And since then, they did obtain approvals from the fire department in 2022. They did receive planning approval in 2022. So it goes through a series of plan checks and routes to each department and staff. there were approvals in 2023 as well. The building plans were approved on July 12th of 2023. So during that period of time, there was progress made prior to the expiration that were substantial. I would say that the most challenging process that any applicant will face is going through the civil improvement plan process, because you do have a series of permits that you have to obtain, and they're all separated. So you have the sewer, water and sewer permits. You have the water quality management plan. You have right-of-way dedication in some cases, and then that also requires recordation of documents, as well as off-site landscaping in the right-of-way. So because of the requirements of the conditions, that does contribute to delays in the project. And it also could be a combination, for different reasons, and it would, be helpful. And so, we understand that the applicant, believes that it was, also partially contributing because of the process times and the plan checking. So we acknowledge that, and that we are also acknowledging that they've substantially obtained approval for their permits, and they're quite close to obtaining their grading permit.
So we can extend it 2 years from June,
So
because again, it's kind of on, I imagine they want to open up as fast as they can, and they were hoping to do it within the 2 years. And now they have to extend another 2 years, which I doubt they're going to use the full 2 years, but for the cost of extension, I think it should be granted starting June, the day we approve it, for 2 years and not January 4th,
okay,
which he loses 6 months right there, half a year. And it's not fair
Yes.
to them.
that is a good point. In some cases, when it comes to site development reviews, and I need to double verify the code on this, but typically on an entitlement for development, you can extend up to 3 years, 3 additional years. It's a little bit different than a tentative parcel map or a residential map. Those have different types of extensions. In this case, the original approval was January 4th, 2022. So the expiration would be January 4th of 2024. So with this extension, they would, the new extension would be to January 4th, 2026.
They're going to be in limbo for 6 months with the permit. So it has to go back to January, it really does. Especially if any of the approvals for divisions are in that 6 months of limbo, I would assume.
That's technically correct. And of course, I would defer to the staff regarding the extension of time, but it would be January 4th, 2026.
If the applicant's okay with that, 'cause I know he pays for that extension. So, I don't think I have any other questions. Does staff have, council have, I'm sorry, commission have any questions for the staff before we have the applicant come up in public hearing?
Maybe more for the city attorney. Sorry to put you on the spot. I just want to be sure that pursuant to either the city's municipal code and or state law, that it is acceptable to accept the extension of time application after the approval had technically expired.
Yes, that's a great question, and it's technically okay. There are instances which, time extensions have expired where cities have extended CUPs. Of course, there's an array of different reasons why that they would have that extension. As long as the commission is satisfied with the findings and justifications, it is up to the commission to determine whether or not to extend beyond the expiration date. Yes.
Other questions for Director Monique before we have public hearing? No. All right. Thank you very much, Director Monique. And now we're going to open up just to, let me see, open the public hearing. And may we ask for the applicant to approach the podium and state your name, please?
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is John Dykes. I'm with FTC Commercial Construction. I'm the architect on the project. Next to me is Alex Bedrani. He's the actual owner of the project. Hello. Cool. We'll start off with your question first, as far as the issues and concerns you've had as far as the project itself is concerned. We've been working on this, I'd say diligently. Staff has been helpful. The problem that we've had is that they haven't been responsive. We might get something in, we'll contact them with questions, and it'll be 2-3 weeks before we'll hear anything. And that's after we've contacted them multiple times. And it's not just this project. We have another project under construction right now that we submitted plans for an amendment to the permit that the building official wanted done in the field. We turned those in a month ago. And as of yesterday, we finally heard from the city after several emails to all sorts of staff, the building official, and saying, do we need to go to city council or city manager or somebody, because nobody's responding. It's not a question of whether or not we're getting any information. We just can't hear from anybody. They're not responsive. And that's the biggest problem we've had, is that we're just not hearing from anybody. So when we're trying to find out and update the owner on what the status is, we're not getting anywhere. I agree, they're short-staffed. There have been issues there. We started this process in 2021. We're on our 4th building official now. It's kind of hard to get things down consistently when there's constant staff turnover. And COVID didn't help with any of that, definitely. But we're kind of past that point to where we should be able to get some of these things narrowed down. But the communication is probably the biggest thing that we've had headaches with. We have gone through all the process. We've got EMWD. I've been waiting for 3 weeks for a response from them on finalizing the approval. We've got that water quality management plan, the WQMP that you referenced. That's been back and forth with the city. I talked to the civil engineer just the other day, and he said the biggest problem he's had is he's gone through 2 different plan review agencies, because those plans are outsourced. They're not reviewed in-house. So they were sent to one company. They went through 2 reviews. By the time we got through that process, they'd hired a new agency to review the next ones, and they started all over again with a whole new set of comments. Went through that twice. The deputy city engineer is now doing the review, and she has amended the conditions of approval. And we're like, wait a second, that's not what was approved. We don't have a problem with what she's saying needs to be done. Maybe it's because there's been a change in the ordinance or something. That's fine and understandable, but that wasn't what was approved. And so those are the kind of headaches that we've had, including correspondence that's not going to where it needs to go. Even during the entitlement process, there was a preliminary water quality management plan that was turned in. That was the last thing we were waiting on review and approval on before it came to staff's approval and then up to you. It sat for 5 months because the person in the staff sent an email to the owner, and not the applicant, not the civil engineer who did the work, saying, you need to pay this invoice before we'll start the review. And it went to his spam folder. We never even knew that it was there. And when we contacted the city to find out what was going on, the engineering wouldn't get back to us. They didn't know what was going on. The civil engineer, he's like, we aren't hearing anything. And it took 5 months before we got an invoice. Those are just some of the headaches that we've had to deal with on this project, and some of the delays and the reasons why it has taken so long to get to this point. And the one thing that I noticed on there is that they had mentioned that it's a 2 to 3 year process once the entitlements are approved. Well, if it's a minimum of 2 years, why is the conditional use permit only good for 2 years when there's no way that it's going to be done and permitted and construction started, with few exceptions, in that time? Maybe it is an idea to think about extending, not specifically for this project, because I can guarantee you he wants to get this thing done and start up and for business, especially because of the homeless problem that he's got over there. But if that's the average is 2 to 3 years, then
Right.
approval should be for longer time, just to give everybody time to get through the process. And yes, engineering is probably the hardest thing that we've had to deal with.
That's kind of why I said that third, because if we're already up against the wall, regardless of the applicant, maybe there are certain criterias that we should look at to say, you know, this has been an obstacle. Let's give that type of development of some sort one more year. Then we're not doing this. So,
Because I think they'd said that there've been 25 extensions
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah,
I didn't
we've had
catch
a
the
lot.
time frame for that. But if that's in 20 years, that's not too bad. But if it's in 5 years, that says there's something wrong with the process itself.
Yeah.
And maybe it needs to be amended.
yeah, I've been on since this last change and I've already looked at 3 or 4. So I understand. I just want to make sure because that's an area of Hemet that is really dynamic with different sets of folks. And I drive by it every day and I think, you know, you look down the railroad tracks and you see clothes strewn everywhere and, you know, I mean, it's not going to just be now, it's going to be once that business is in place, that's going to be a problem even then. And so I just want to make sure that we're not gonna the building and the whole situation is an improvement, not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, the advantage is with a vacant
busy.
building, it's going to draw attention. When there's business there, especially 6 days a week, and there's activity, the population will tend to avoid that area. Now, there is right across on the other side of the tracks, there is it's a homeless center.
Yeah.
So that's obviously it's going to be
Yeah.
a situation. That owner came to us and talked about the potential of hiring some of those people that he has as employees for his business. And that is a possibility, but we need to get to that point.
Right, you gotta
Um,
open the business.
Yeah. And I've even been asked, you know, why haven't you at least started construction on the building itself? Because it's a separate permit.
Uh-huh.
And that's exactly the reason. We don't want to put in $100,000 worth of all new electrical because everything's been stripped out of the building.
Yeah.
And then it sit there for 6 months, 9 months, a year waiting on engineering when they're just going to break in and tear all that back out again.
In an ideal situation, how far are you from in the process? Are we getting close?
We have EMWD has everything that I know of. We provided everything to them. They got back to us with some corrections. We've turned all that in. They've got everything that I'm aware of. Source Control has already, I believe, agreed to the project. There's a clearance that will be done after the permits are approved. So it's kind of a separate thing, more of just a paperwork and a check kind of situation. But after that, the only other real thing that needs to be done is that water quality management plan. And my understanding is it's this one change in the conditions of approval that the engineer's taking care of. And that's back into the city now. And so really that could be approved by the end of the month.
Mhm.
And then it's just, you know, start checking the boxes on what needs to be cleared and we'll start construction. So yeah, we appreciate the 2 years. We're hoping we don't need 2 years. But we didn't think it was going to take this long to get to this point.
Yeah, regarding the filing of the extension, at what point in the process did you realize your application entitlement had expired?
January of this year. We were never informed, at least our office was not informed. The city has a portal where all the plans are uploaded. There was nothing on the portal about the CUP expiring. We were never informed until basically it was expiring or it had expired that day. And that's when oh, okay, well, then we started working with the staff on what do we need to do? What can we do? And they were willing to work with us on, oh, well, you've got all this stuff already approved. Let me get with the city attorney and we'll go through the details and see if we can get this through with an extension or if we have to go through the whole process. Unfortunately, we were able to apply for the extension as we are now. But yeah, we were informed basically in January of this year that there was expiration.
Okay. I personally don't have an issue with the city taking some liberties on allowing you to file for an extension of time after the fact. But I'm not a policeman, but if I play one on TV sometimes. So, you know, they tell you when you pull over, oh gee, I didn't know the speed limit wasn't 95 miles an hour. Somebody at some point should have known that your application was expiring prior to it actually expiring. So there is some responsibility on the applicant's part for not knowing that. I'm sorry for the issues that you ran into with city staff that led to some delays. So I would just go on the record saying for myself, I don't have an issue with the filing being late. I don't see any reason why we would want to hold up this particular project. I understand, from many years of doing this line of work myself, that a vacant building becomes an attractive nuisance. And the best way to get rid of that attractive nuisance is to put something into that building. So I'm not going to reopen the original review of the merits of your application. I think that's already been discussed. The only thing that I would consider are the conditions of approval that are being imposed on you now. I don't see anything in there that I have issue with. I'm curious to know if if you or the applicant have any concerns with the proposed conditions of approval as amended.
The only question that I have anyways, because I'm the one that normally deals with that, he just pays me to deal with it.
Write the checks.
Was you'd mentioned fire department amending theirs as of today. We haven't seen it to know what it was. It sounds like, I think you'd mentioned it's basically just some dates and some things there, which we probably won't have a problem with, but I can't comment on it because we've never even heard or seen it yet.
I can be able to respond to that.
Yes, Chair. So this is an adjustment that we've been making on all of the extension of times, just to ensure that the fire department fire code is just reflecting today's 2022 standards. That is primarily the change for the fire department conditions.
We shouldn't have a problem with it. There's a separate company that's handling the specifics of the fire protection. The building is not fire protected at this time. And we are putting in fire line, fire riser, sprinklering the whole thing. So that will meet all current code. That there's no problem with that.
Okay, and with respect to the asphalt being laid in, I believe it's 2-inch.
Yeah, the asphalt, anything that's pretty much hard surface is pretty much per city standard. The civil engineer, unless there's a geotechnical report that says this is what's required, which a lot of times the city will fall back on because they've actually done soils testing to see whether the soil can hold up to more or less than whatever the city standard is. But anything in the right of way is pretty much the city standard is what is put down.
So where this asphalt is being put down, is this widening of an existing road or is it grinding and top coating?
It will be widening. Part of it, as she'd mentioned, was the dedication of property. With the new general plan, the right of way width for that road was widened, I think 4 feet on either side, 4 or 5 feet. So we had to dedicate additional land to the street, and that is to widen the road. I don't know how that's going to line up with the adjacent properties, just because they've already had their work done, whether it's years ago or recently, I couldn't say, but it should line up with the property to the east, and then we've got the railroad tracks to the west. So whatever's on the other side is what's there now. So
is this providing full right-of-way improvements, curb, gutter, the over-X, recompaction of base? Okay.
it'll be establishing a lighting maintenance or landscape maintenance district. No lighting just because there's no street lights on that side of the street.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry to, we love businesses coming into Hemet, and it's frustrating to see that something like this is taking 2-3 years just in engineering and paperwork, and we still, you haven't been able to open your business yet. And I remember approving this back on my birthday when we had this meeting 2 years ago. And I'm here to still support you, and I still think, yeah, you should have that extension of time due to communication errors. And that's something that maybe I know we are short staffed, and the planning can only do so much, but maybe the city attorney, the city manager can hear this meeting and see if he can come up with some solutions to allow more staff to come in and make the planning a little bit more a smooth running engine. But it's just frustrating to see the business struggling to try to get open with so much roadblock. But it's just a statement to say, but with that, thank you for your time. Any other questions for the applicant? Hmm? Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close public.
I just wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah. Is there any members?
Wanted to say something. When I started this business, the idea, it was like almost 4 years ago. And we came in a Hemet and we got the property. And I had 4 investors with me. By now I have 1.5 investor. 1 is almost out. 2, they said we can't get our money back. And now they want their money that they invested with me and trying to sue me. So they want the money. I'm trying to put my house up to get some money so I can give them a little bit of money so they can leave me alone until I open. On top of that, I'm paying insurance on the property every month, taxes. It's been closed. I paid over $60,000 up to date. $60,000 with nothing to do. Like I have nothing to do with it no more. Like it just closed. On top of that, I have 2 guys that they come every week. One comes on Monday, one comes on Saturday to clean from the homeless and to do all that. The code enforcement, I remember my daughter was in the hospital and I was with her in the hospital and I get a call from the code enforcement because he have my cell phone. And he threatens me that they're going to take me to court and they're going to take my building away because there's too much homeless. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I live an hour. It took me today to come over here, ask him 3 hours drive, San Diego all the way over here. Almost it takes me to Arizona 5 hours. It took me 3 hours to him from San Diego. So halfway. I told him, I was like, I'm far away. Like I can clean it today, but not even the next day. In an hour, they will come back and do the same thing. Like I'm going to clean it. I'll be cleaning it. So there is no help. Like he's writing me tickets, writing me things, and I have to pay the tickets. And I'm like you see me what I'm going through, and you know we've been doing this for. I want to open. Trust me. I have equipment that I bought from China 5 years ago. They're still sitting. I'm paying storage on it in China. Like I have a lot of things that this just been it made problems with me and my family, with me and my uncles, my investors. It's been a headache for me. And I really, when we came in, because we were gonna go to San Bernardino and we saw a property there, but we liked this one better. So I went to the city and I asked and I showed them what I want to open. They were so happy about it. Welcoming, I will help you. And we need this business over here and we need it. And this is good for the environment. So they gave me like a whole dream. I was like, oh, this is really good. I'm gonna finish it. Like a couple of years, I'll be open. We haven't done nothing. Now the city, I went 2-3 times myself to the city begging, please, like help me. I want to open. What do you want from me? We want this fee. Here you go. This is a check. There's not even, we paid everything that we have to pay. I make the drive from San Diego sometimes all the way over here to pay either the city or I go to the addresses that you sent me, or I go to his office because I have another business in San Diego as a nightlife business, and I'm working through this, hardly sleep. I'm always on the road trying to make everything happen because it's getting really, really tough for me. And with this, I feel like nobody is helping. Like, I just want to open. If you guys, like, if the city would have told me from the beginning it's going to be like that, I would have been like, no, I don't need this headache, because now I'm facing a lawsuit from this guy that thinks I stole his money. I didn't steal your money. It's right there. Like, I cannot do, let's just start doing construction. I was like, it doesn't work that way. I need permits. I need this. We have to do things the right way. He's like, tell me a business that it's been almost 4 years and we haven't, when are we going to open? By the time, like literally by the time now they use plastic containers and all that for the water. And now they're coming up with something and they're not using the plastic. I'm like, I'm going to run out of business before I'm even in the business. They're coming up with some containers and stuff that it's like a paper. I was like, this is going to be a nightmare for me. So it just, I know it's nobody's fault, you know, it happens, but this is really costing me a lot of money. and a lot of problems. I'm facing lawsuits. And on top of that, I have to hire a lawyer that, you know, took from me $10,000. He didn't even do anything, just ready for the lawsuit. So it's been breaking me a lot. Now I don't know what to do. I just need, I mean, we want to do everything by the book. I'm not saying cut me a slack or I don't want to go by the code. No, I really want to do everything by the, but like, help me. I'm trying to bring this business. It's a really good business. I used to have this business in Santa Ana, and we sold that, but it was on a small scale and it was doing good. It's really good, like recycling and all that stuff. Like, but what I did now, it's really like we can be on the news, like as something as the city to be proud of. But like, I need help. I'm running out of money. I'm running out of time. And I feel like it's just like, oh, you have to pay this fee. Okay. I never complained once about paying a fee. Okay. If this is gonna solve the problem, let's do it. Let's just, whatever it is, the 2-3 weeks, I call John every week. I call him 4 or 5 times. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to call. Any updates? No, we didn't hear nothing from the city. I text him today. I didn't hear nothing from the city. John, we really need to keep this going. At one point, I thought like, okay, maybe John is not doing his job because this is like unbelievable. But come to find out, it's the city. And then I thought maybe somebody in the maybe the recycling center, because there's a recycling in front of me. I'm like, maybe he paid somebody or something to make it this hard for me to open. It never happens. My family owned businesses as supermarkets, liquor stores back in San Diego and Escondido, San Marcos. I own a nightclub, one of like almost the biggest nightclub in San Diego, downtown. And we all been in businesses. There's no business that takes 4 years and it's not even in construction. If you think about it, I don't know when we're going to get the permit to start construction. It's going to take me, I don't know how long to do the construction. After that, because I'm opening a recycling center, it's have to do with the state. The state have to come and do a review. After the review, I don't know how much, sometimes it opens 6 months until they let you open, if they let you open. So it's not a guaranteed thing. I'm investing all this money and everything in it. And it's not 100% thing. It's not like a market that you can open and you're like, I'm just going to do the construction. I'm going to put some stuff in it, groceries or whatever. I'm going to open and people are going to come and buy. I'm still doing all this. And I don't know if I'm going to get approved from the state because I thought this construction is going to be easy, but everything is like, it's harder and harder and harder. And all I want to do is open a good business. And like I'm saying, it's really good for the city. Like not a lot of cities have this business. They have recycling centers. As you go, you collect, you pay. But what we're doing is processing, actually getting back the plastic to the pellets. And like nobody will do that. There's only a couple of them. Some in LA, some in like Arizona. I think there's one, but we're trying to bring this over here. But like I feel like the city should be like helping us all more. Like, okay, what do you need from us? Like we work together. I just feel like it's like I said, the code enforcement every other day calling me, you have homeless. Okay, I know I have. What do you want me to do about it? There's so much, if you can call the police department, so much that now when they hear my name, they don't even show up anymore. Last time I sent somebody to clean, the guy that was cleaning, the homeless took him hostage inside. I called the cops and I was like, the homeless took my guy hostage inside. They don't want to let him go. And she's like, well, we cannot do nothing about it. I was like, they don't want to let the guy leave. We had a dog over there. One of the guys had his dog. They killed his dog on the property. And the guy quit. The first guy I had, he's like, oh, they killed my dog. And now I don't want to be here. And they're trying to burn the property down. It's always something. Broken windows, the graffitis inside, the things. My neighbor, the neighbor, not the homeless guy, the homeless center, the neighbor next to me, they sell wires and stuff. They use my property to jump in to go steal his stuff. Now he's upset at me. We used to be like good calling back and forth. Now I text him, he doesn't even answer. He's like, he told the employee that because of you guys not open yet, I'm getting every week they jump and they steal something from me. What can I do? There's nothing I can do about it. And this been really, really frustrating. I never seen this like I never experienced something like that. And on top of that, I have to pay every month fees for my machines to be stored. And I have to pay insurance and I have to pay taxes on top of that for the property I'm not even using and to deal with the homeless. So I just wanted to say that Apologize if I was, a little bit, but I'm really frustrated. It's 4 years, 4 years. And like driving back and forth, and it's with no traffic, it's almost hour and 46 minutes for me. With traffic, you add another hour, hour and a half to it. It's 3 hours and a half. I'm on the road just to come over here, look if there's homeless or not. How is that gonna work? And the code enforcement guy tells me, oh, we can take your property away. We can take you to court because you're abandoning the property. I was like, I'm not abandoning the property. Oh, you have to cut the palm trees. They don't look nice. I was like, the whole building doesn't look nice. I understand that. Made me bring somebody to cut the palm trees, charge me $800 to cut the palm trees, and then they write me a ticket because my palm trees were like that. How is that gonna work? Like I don't see like why when he knows the situation. I was like, ask about the situation. The palm trees. This is what bothered you about the whole thing. 4 palm trees that I paid $200 on each just to cut some palm trees. $800 that. And on top of that, I pay the water bill every month, $180, $200. Well, guess what? It's the homeless people that use it. And then we had to put a lock on the front because there's a faucet on the street. We put a lock, they break it. Last time they broke the whole pipe, and water was like, because the bill came like almost $400. It stayed like for 2 days, just water on the street. What do you guys need from me to do? They told me I'll put a fence around it. Well, to put a fence around it is so expensive. I cannot keep paying money just throwing in trash. So like just the frustration and all the things that I've been dealing with. I'm really kind of like, if somebody will come and ask me like, hey, we want to open a business in Hemet, I'll be like, hey, I think you should think about it because what I went through, I don't think you can handle it. It's just been too much. Like they want me like code enforcement to follow the rules and do all this, but what do you want me to do about it? Like I cannot sit there. He's like, that's not my problem. Okay, it's not your problem. So what do you? His name is Americo. I don't know if you guys from Americo. Yeah, he's like, that's not my problem. That I was telling him to explain. I was like, maybe he feels a little bit sympathetic with me. I'm telling him the situation, and in the end, he told me it sounds like a you problem. I was like, a you problem. He's like, yeah, that's a you problem. That's not my problem. I was like, I'm asking you and I'm telling you, don't write me the ticket. I'm going to send somebody right now to clean it. He's like, no, that's not my job to call you and tell you come clean it. It's your job to clean it. Yeah, but I'm not there. And like, I want to be there. Trust me. I want to be there. I want to start working, but he's not, no, we're going to take you to, if I see it like that again, we're going to take you to court. And you remember the day I called you? That we want to take you to court and we can take your property away from you. I was like, why do you think this is the wild, wild west? You're going to come and take my property away from me like that? I was like, I'm working, ask the city. It's just been like that all the time. And I have, like I said, 2 guys that I pay each one $250 for the 3 days and another guy $300. That's $500 I'm paying every week just for people to come and clean, just so America can be happy because it sounds like a me problem.
I would be completely upset if I were you too. You coming here and speaking and saying this, it's public. Council members are going to listen to this, hoping the city manager listens to this. But this is something that, and it's not the leadership, it's not planning per se. I just know planning needs more help. And planning is the backbone to the city. I mean, this is where we generate revenue. This is where the city survives. And your voice has been heard. And I certainly hope the council responds to this meeting when they have their council meeting and with their reports. But why is, if things are being prolonged and it's in the process, why is code enforcement per se attacking a business that is trying to open and will clean up, but code enforcement is this true that code enforcement keeps tagging his property?
100% true.
There have been code violations and in citywide, but generally speaking, yes, there have been. The code violations are consistent with what what's been identified. There has been graffiti encampments, overgrown, vegetation. So those are traditionally consistent with code violations in the city. Now, as far as specifically why code would, come out just to this property, I cannot speak to that. I can speak to that the code violations have been documented. And it's, the responsibility of code enforcement to ensure that if there's a code violation, then it has to be resolved. But yes, no, I hear what the applicant is saying, and
It's frustrating because seems like we're kicking him while he's down, and
And excuse me, I told him, I was like, if you see graffiti, I'm not saying keep it. Just if a phone call, if you just call me and say, hey, there's a graffiti on the wall, we'll be on it right away. No problem. I'm not saying like leave the building alone, let be a graffiti. No, not that. Just call me. He's like, that's not my job to call you. That's your job. It's just like it's okay. Just make a phone call and say, hey, like there's graffiti, because I put two guys. One, like I said, goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and one goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So two guys have been like working with me. I told them, just like, let me know. Maybe you passed, they're not there yet, or maybe they saw it and they went to Home Depot to get the paint. So I can be like, oh, you know what? We're on it. Don't worry about it. Like, he's like, no, that's not my job. I'm not saying keep the graffiti. We painted. If you pass by, we painted. They broke the glass. We put wood. They took the wood out. We put more wood. It's like whatever they do, we fix it. But it's just gonna keep being like that. It's just gonna keep being like that. But I guarantee you, when hopefully we open, and I guarantee you that this building is gonna be one of the best buildings in Hemet. I guarantee you. I give you my word, because all what we own businesses, if you can come and see, it's state of the art. Like everything maintained clean, nice, because we take pride that we own something. We own it. We take pride and we take care of it. I used to be in the recycling business, and I took over from a guy a yard, and it was one of the horrible condition. I took over, I fixed it. The landlord, I cut the lease with him and left, he offered me like to be partners with me, because the way I took care of his property. I wish I had the pictures to show you, but when I take over something, I'll make sure like I'm gonna fix it 100%, because like I said, we take pride of that. This is what we have. We worked hard for, and we take care of our stuff. But just the things that have been happening with the code enforcement and all this, and this just taking too long. Like I said, I still have to find. Oh, by the way, the construction that's gonna cost on that building is $2 million to do construction. $2 million. Where like at one point I was backed up with investors, and I know like but they saw how long it's gonna take, everything backed up. And I only have now one investor and a half, because he's halfway in, halfway out. Every day gives me a headache. Oh, we could have invested in the market. We could have invested in this. We could have invested in the nightclub. We could have invested in the lounge. We would have now making money. Look what we're going through. Like, so I have to hear it every day. And one of the investors is an uncle of mine. Well, they're 4 uncles. So 2 of them, they don't talk to me anymore. And one, he's like in between, and now I have only one. So that's like also been frustrating for me.
I'm
Just like
sorry
we
you're
need
going-
just help from the city, a push just to, I mean, we're doing this for the city. It's not like I'm gonna fix the building and take it with me home. It's gonna be right there in the city, and it's just gonna be something really nice to look at, because the process, how things work, and the machines, it's actually impressive. I went and I saw the machines, and I fell in love with it. How they work, how you put a bottle in and it comes out clean, and a pallet, and you don't believe it. You're like, this is how it works. So it's a really impressive process. It's not complicated at all. It's really simple. When you say like, oh, I'm gonna take that bottle and melt it down and make it a pellet, you're like, oh, this is but it's actually just water and heat, and that's it. But the way the machines works and how you put them in, the bottles in and they come out, it's just really impressive. It's really something nice.
I see your excitement in that. And again, I apologize for everything you're going through, and like I said, your voice has been heard. Council watches these meetings, the city manager watches these meetings, and I hope they engage and make some changes with maybe a little more extra help in the planning side of things. And
In this discussion, my remodel, and you can ask Soledad. The building plans going back and forth to Orange County, my lumber cost doubled in the amount of time it took me to get my plans from OC and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like, could we do something? So you know what I did? I volunteered in the building department. And I will never forget the first time I took a phone call and see, this problem's been going on for a while. Let me take your name and number and let me call you back. And the guy joked and laughed at me. 15 minutes later, I followed through and he was dumbfounded. Someone called me back from the city. So this is a problem, it has been a problem for years. And a voice like this is, I'll echo it because I know no one talks to anybody. There's no accountability and they don't follow through and call back. Just a call back that says, I got your message. I don't have your answer yet, but
My uncle actually didn't believe me though what I'm going through, and he actually started calling John behind my back to ask him if I'm really taking care of business or what. And he had told him this is what we're facing. So my uncle decided to write a letter for the city pleading for help. Pleading. And somebody called him. They said, oh, we got your email, but they're on lunch right now. They will call you back. That call never happened. It had been like a month. That call never happened.
I know that's an area down there that needs attention. Bad.
And homeless will keep coming,
Oh,
just keep coming until you get something there. It's never ending.
too much,
But
yeah.
City manager and everybody, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just saying, this is back in 2016 for me.
Well, thank you for your time and, do you have any questions for the applicant before we go to any public comments? Well, thank you for your time, guys, and certainly your voice is heard, and I thank you for expressing to us your frustration, because a lot of business owners that come here don't necessarily express to us their frustration. And you know, nobody knows your side of the story, your background, and I appreciate your voice and it has been heard.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I again apologize if I was a little bit, but I think this has been
Give you time to
biled
talk.
out. I try to be as much as professional I can, but you know, this has been like for almost 3.5 years biled in, and I just had to say something because if it keeps going like that, I don't know what else to do. Like I'm seriously, you know, we all have our own problems and issues, family, friends, whatever it is, and to add more, you know, try to open this business so I can put my dad, my brother, and people around me that I love, and I always want to keep around me, keep him in this business. And the homeless child next to us, like he called me, he's like, hey, if you can help me, like give him a job. I said, yeah, no problem. And I try to do that to keep everybody close. But you know, like it's just it's really, really frustrating because I'm dealing with so much outside, and to deal with this, to get phone calls and threatened by the, you know, like I said, the code enforcement, it's just like not. And I try to be as professional and understanding, but you know, like sometimes it's just like somebody can take so much, because you know, like if I sit here and tell you the, you know, I mean, that's my problem. But if I tell you the stuff that I'm dealing with personally, you know, you're gonna be like, how is this guy still standing on his feet? Because I'm really, really fun. And all I got next to it, because like I said, I have a nightclub down San Diego, and the nightlife is not a life for a fam, because I have a family. I have 3 daughters, I have a wife, and you can only imagine that my business is 9 o'clock in the morning till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm already dealing with that problems, and I want this to open so I can sell my nightclub, and I just want to do a 8 to 5 business and 1 day off to spend with my family. That's it. So, you know, I feel like by the time I open this, I'm already divorced and the wife took the kids. And, you know, I'm serious, because this is what the argument every day about. We don't see you. You're out in the day, out at night. We don't see you. We don't see you. So by the time we open this, I'm gonna be divorced. You know, my wife already left because she can't handle the lifestyle. I work at, but how I can make money? This is the business that right now we're, paying for this and paying for that. I cannot leave it. I need something else, and I cannot until I start working with this, with the new project, so I can be like, okay, now I can put my nightclub up for sale, because I don't want that life. It's a whole different life, and it's not good. Like if I was single, I didn't have 3 daughters, I didn't have a wife, yeah, maybe that's every guy's dream to have a nightclub, and but with the family waiting for me in the end of the night, I don't see them. I come at 5, 6 in the morning home, my kids go to school, I sleep 2, 3 hours. By the time they come back, I'm already at the office doing paperwork, meetings with managers, VIP managers, the events that we have. It's always been like that. So, like that's why like I really need this to work, because it's just been a nightmare. And like I said, my uncle told me we could have invested in a supermarket. We have supermarkets. We could have invested $2, $3, $4 million on this market. It makes us money. We already know that business. He's like, you're taking us somewhere we don't even know if it's gonna work or not. And we said, okay, we'll go with you there, but we didn't say it takes 3 to 4 years. And I was like, I didn't know the city is gonna give us that much time. Like, what do you want me to do? So that's what it is. But this is what I'm facing right now, and it's really, really, I'm on a borderline of breaking. But I have 3 kids, like I said. I cannot, because there's nobody else. Like I don't take handouts for nobody. I work hard for my stuff, and this is what I've been doing. But I need help with from the city to to help me open, so I can like focus on this business and make it work, because there's no person gonna come invest $3 to $5 million and not gonna put his heart and his soul in that business to make it work. And that's what I'm willing to do. I want to put my heart and soul in this business to make it work, because everything that I've been, thank God, working with, I started slow and it takes off. I put my heart and soul in it. That's what I've been doing in my nightclub. I've been having it for 3 years right now, but that's why it takes a heart and a soul. You got to sacrifice to make it work. People don't understand that, kids and family, wife, because they just have it easy because you're taking care of them, but they didn't know what you have to deal with on the outside. So this is what, I've been doing. I need this to open so I can, otherwise the family is gone too, but I don't want that. I don't want that. And I cannot leave the club right now because that's what paying my bills. It's a lot of bills to be paid. So I just wanted to say that. Again, thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
your
You guys have a
time.
good night.
Thank you for your time. Is there any, we're gonna, before we close public hearing, are there any e-comments or comments from the public?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any comments.
That will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any discussion or ask for motion for extension?
I have a motion to give the extension for another 2 years with an urgent message to the rest of the city that this is a me problem for the city. Clearly. And so, yes, let's get him his extension.
Any other, is there a second, well, you want to make that recommendation as it's written?
Let's specify a time period, please.
Well, it'll have to be from January 4th to January 4th. We're 2024, so it'll be 2026. And hopefully we'll stand there with him in a ribbon cutting and say it was worth it. But yeah, 2 years.
I'll second that motion.
That motion passes. Seven A, city attorney reports. City attorney Leah Swery.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 7B, Community Development Reports, Director Monique.
Thank you, Chair. This is, before you this evening. I'd like to present, just a brief receive and file, post follow-up action report, from the June 4th Planning Commission meeting. At the, June 4th Planning Commission meeting, a request, to provide the status reports, to the commission from various departments, was discussed, and more specifically, with regards to the current development activity and status of projects. In addition to the duties of the Planning Commission with regard to the review of infrastructure and roadway improvements. There was also interest in learning more about development activity occurring through the building and fire divisions, respectively. The purpose of this follow-up this evening is to provide an overview on the duties of the Planning Commission, additional duties transferred to the Planning Commission, and an estimate of when Public Works Engineering will present a report to the Planning Commission on infrastructure and roadway improvements. Other topics will be discussed in future correspondence in action reports.
When was this report created? The one we reviewed here is 100 and some pages for different projects. When was that last updated?
So the follow-up, there's a couple things that's included in this discussion this evening. What I'd like to do is kind of overview of what the Planning Commission's duties are in accordance with the Hemet Municipal Code, as well as additional duties transferred to the Planning Commission last year as a result of the repealing of the Infrastructure Commission and then transferring the functions of the duties of the Infrastructure Commission. Also, the report that was attached to this memo this evening is a capital improvement program that was adopted by the City Council. That report was prepared in August of 2023 and then acted upon by the City Council. That is the current capital improvement program that is approved for fiscal years 2023 through 2024 through fiscal year 2027 through 2028, so the 5-year plan. That report is amended annually and is reviewed by the council. So this was prepared or provided to you for your reference so that you have a background once the once the Public Works Engineering City Engineer Director presents to you in July. And so you'll have this as a background and it will be better, have better information on what the capital improvement program includes. And it is a comprehensive document for your review. The presentation will be provided to you for recommendation to the City Council. This will be presented to you either at our next Planning Commission meeting or the following in July. So I also just wanted to just briefly identify what transpired with the decision in October of 2023. The Infrastructure Commission was repealed. The duties of the Planning Commission now that would be the duties of the Infrastructure Commission would transfer to the function would be transferred to the Planning Commission. And the duties that were identified in the ordinance 2020 that was presented also provided a copy in this memorandum for your review. The Planning Commission the expanded duties of the Planning Commission shall from time to time review, comment upon, and make recommendations to the City Council as may be appropriate to the Public Works Department, Engineering Department, and Community regarding review as necessary, recommendations on master plans for parks, vehicle and pedestrian safety measures, and other circulation, the review of circulation element. And so more recently, we did have that presentation for the community that was presented to you for safety, traffic safety measures. So that an example of what would be a review as necessary. So we may not have items always coming to us from the Public Works Engineering Division. The Capital Improvement Program will identify what projects are on the pipeline, but they may not present, monthly what those are, because the Public Works Engineering Division is working on that continually. And there is a lot of work involved with that. There's funding that they also have to factor in. And then it'll be interesting, for the commission to have that presentation to be better informed on the process. So with that, that concludes my brief memorandum to the commission. If you have any additional, questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Okay. I do have one. It's more of a theoretical or hypothetical. If the Infrastructure Commission had not been dissolved last October, would it be reasonable to assume that some items might have come forward to that commission since last October? Because I don't recall
Yes.
having reviewed anything.
Yeah, so the planning commission did review, and it was presented to the planning commission, the capital improvement program, last year. So not only did the, Public Works Engineering Division present to the prior infrastructure commission, they also then followed up with presentation to the planning commission for recommendation, which really a key reason for the, the decision was, due to reduce a significant overlap on key topics that are really more in alignment with planning for the city.
Okay, I understand that, but I guess what I'm getting at is, wouldn't it be, it would be reasonable to assume that there would have been items brought forth to the Infrastructure Commission if they were still in existence? Been no, there's been no Infrastructure Commission meetings since last October. But didn't they meet monthly prior to their meeting dissolved?
Yeah, so in between that time, the duties did transfer to the planning commission. Since then, there have been no infrastructure related. And again, the duties are a review as necessary, and we're kind of working through this and providing more education for both the commission and staff on, really what are the duties of the infrastructure commission and what duties were actually transferred. So we've been looking at and dissecting the ordinance as written. And as we understand, although there may have been a project at that time, it may not have come to the planning commission. It's possible. But moving forward, we are, we're making it known that the planning commission would serve for review of those related to the ordinance 2020.
Just please understand the request that I've had for a couple of sessions. While I'm tasked with looking at the different proposals, right now I'm sitting thinking, because I know of several things out on the pike, what are we doing infrastructure-wise to accommodate what's coming down the pike? And so my request has been persistent because I did not get that capital improvement because it happened before I came on. I don't like playing pin the tail on the city. You and I both know that we've got problems in the infrastructure. Things are aging. We've got road problems. And so when you want us to look at things in an objective form, part of that objection is how to serve that plan. And if things are in, we all know, you drive down Menlo, we got terrible roads. So that's been my request, pretty persistent for quite a while. I don't want a monthly report, but a quarterly or even a bi-yearly to just say, hey, we're on track for, the expansion on Esplanade. And because I read that report, just let us know that's coming down the pike so that when things are feeding into Esplanade, traffic-wise, we can feel good about making that decision. And that's why I've been loud. So I'm getting off my soapbox.
I think we've all been, we've all been saying that we want more information since the last planning commission was dismantled and we reorganized a new commission under the infrastructure. And I was going through the CIP, the capital improvements, and I've noticed it's all the way up to 2028, I believe, is the projections based on the budget and how much money allocates per year for the different projects. And I noticed, like, for example, Kirby on the capital improvement, Kirby Street was for sewage. And we obviously see that a year later, they tore up the road and redid the sewage. However, the road is really messed up now. And I don't see that in the CIP of them repaving that road. But then there again, it's all this to be announced stuff, which we don't know what the to be announced is for road slurries or doing new roads or slurry roads. And those are just some of the things that I just don't know, like Sanderson, as we're talking about, we're trying to plan ahead. And we have all these like multi-million square foot warehouses that are coming down the tube, coming down the pipe off of Sanderson. And we just simply do not have the road to hold that capacity of those semi trucks on Sanderson. So, that's something we've been bringing up for the last several meetings when we talk about Sanderson. Is what is the city's plan in expanding that? Because we don't want to build and then expand. We want to expand, then build. And that's kind of a big infrastructure issue we have is maybe they can use Acacia for all the semi trucks and go out to the very dead end there and create a special light for the semi trucks. I don't know. We have different ideas, but that's one of the biggest one for me is Sanderson. And Kirby and what's the projection when they're going to repave those roads. And, we see at CIP all these different projections in different places and he wants to put them. And I don't necessarily know like why he picks particular streets to re-slurry. I understand it's cheaper than a new road, but I've gone down roads that have a couple cracks in them and they re-slurry the entire thing, which costs money where the road street next to it needs a lot more help, has a lot more cracks in it. And why are we not focusing on those roads? And that's my frustration with the planning, with the infrastructure part of it is, especially with business development, we really want to make sure we're planning ahead with all these semi trucks. And we have heard nothing about what the future holds for Sanderson. And my other question is when like Caltrans comes in and repaves roads and redoes the asphalt, and then we come in with the contractor and do sewage and we tear up the nicely paved road that was there. And then they put in a cut-in asphalt that's kind of sloppy as a bump down when you hit it. And people ask, like, are they going to patch that and make it look nice like the road again? Or am I going to go through this brand new road and hit this bump because they had to do sewage or replace the water line? And how do we fix that problem on something that's brand new that we spent money on getting a new road?
Right.
Yes, so those are all good comments and you'll have an opportunity to raise those questions when the capital improvement program is presented to you by our city engineer or our director of public works city engineer who has the extensive knowledge and he has the mapping and information and explanation of the timing and the background, the information that you're looking for, and also will be taking any of your recommended input at the time of the presentation for the Planning Commission in July. I did want to mention though, just, briefly, there's been comments also about, what's happening when new development comes on board. And that's also something interesting too, that it's a little bit, it's a little different because when a new development comes in, they are required to provide their half-street improvements along the frontages of their development. And they are providing brand new roadway improvements along that. So it is improving the conditions of the road. For example, the Kirby project did improve the improvements on the road, as well as including bike lanes and improving the condition. However, there's also been, questions about whether or not, the capacity to serve the existing conditions. And those are traffic impact report, those are traffic related discussions that we should have. And that might be a separate discussion that the commission, would like to look at. But as we look at traffic impact analysis, there's also potential for paying a fee into or a program for their fair share. However, we don't have that fair share program at this time. So I just want to make the commission aware of that. But some cities do have that. So that's just something to note. But I really would recommend that the commission, receive the report by the city engineer, and then further explore questions they might have based on his expertise.
And I really like that idea because that's a different area of a piece that we need. So absolutely.
Other questions for Director Monique before we receive and file? Received and filed your report. I guess that's all I have to say. There's no motion or anything. Okay. Item 7C, future agenda items. Director Monique.
Future agenda items include environmental justice element and safety element. As we are still working through the process for Freddy's Restaurant. The fiscal year 2024-2025 through fiscal year 2028-2029 capital improvement program presentation and High Point Apartments. And that concludes future agenda items for tonight.
Thank you very much. And moving on to 7D, Planning Commissioners Reports. Director Monique.
Commissioner Clark.
So on May 29th, June, it was just, dang, I lost the date. July 12th is when the comment period ends for the Hemet Logistics West project. I went to the environmental discussion for the adjacent property next to Hemet West. It was very well attended. I know planning was there. I know that council person Peterson was there. And they have some pointed questions environmentally. I was given a piece of paper. And I intend on attending all of the future because that's the only way we're going to get an education. And it's a big deal. So, and I highly recommend anyone and the public to participate. It's in its infant stages, obviously. Whether we do it or not is, there's a lot at stake for a lot of people. That's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Ochoa,
Nothing to report.
Vice Chair Pap.
Similar comments to Ms. Clark's comments. I've been paying attention in some of the local social media pages, Nextdoor, Facebook, a few others, Instagram. There is a movement to bring awareness to trucking logistics facilities that are migrating this direction from the Inland Empire. And there's a lot of grassroots opposition growing. So I would just caution staff, be on your A game preparing those environmental documents, because there's going to be a lot of members of the public that are going to come here throwing darts at them. Not just me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Beamsterfer.
Not too much to report. The only thing, again, I mentioned last meeting was the cleanup on State and Stetson where the McDonald's shopping center is. It looked like they cleaned inside the shopping center. They cleaned, the city cleaned their side, the business owner cleaned theirs. So it looks a lot better now than it has been in a while. And I did talk to a business owner that has a location on the where their old Sprouts Market is. He's closing his business. And one of the things that they were kind of concerned or kind of complained about is that they feel like the city is not focusing on that area for new businesses. And instead they're just focusing on the West End and expanding that way, when there's a lot of people live out off State and Stetson, and there's just really no new development coming except for McDonald's. That's about the only newest thing we have there. But that was just one resident's concern, is they feel like the city's not really necessarily targeting out there. They're targeting away where where we have more space to work with. But I don't know if there's anything coming down the tube that you're aware of that maybe if they're listening that they can be more hopeful about in that intersection out there. But other than that, I'm happy to see the cleanup. It looks a lot better, and it definitely changes the morale around there a little bit. And with that, I have nothing else to report. If there is no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned to the next planning commission meeting scheduled for July the 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m.